Joining me now for the latest, Herald Sun columnist Patrick Carlyon and the Director of Law and Policy at the Institute of Public Affairs, John Story. Gents, welcome to the program. I want to start with some economic issues. A renowned macroeconomist, Gina Rinehart, has slammed the Albanese government today for what he says doubling down on a dumb strategy by relying on population growth to grow the economy. He also noted that a chronic lack of investment in our infrastructure relative to this population growth, he says, has been massively detrimental to living standards and will weigh on productivity. Have a listen.
It's all about migration is the big change, and it's got dialed up quite aggressively almost 20 years ago. And the results being that we've had pretty poor economic performance ever since. If you look at the size of the economy per person, it was the worst 15 years in the post-war period. And we're doubling down on it. We've seen population race higher. We've got quite weak investment. And unfortunately, if you repeat the same thing, you get the same results.
Look, I've been saying this for months. The real rot started under Kevin Rudd and it's just continued. But I mean, this is Rudd on steroids now in the Albanese government era. The Economist, though, finally brave enough to speak about this publicly, and polls show more and more Australians agree. John, do you think the PM's ready to listen?
I'm not too sure. We'll have to see. The reality is that there's nowhere to hide now when it comes to interest rates and cost of living pressures. At the beginning, the government did inherit some problems, some inflationary problems, and they've been quick to blame those issues. High spending during COVID, COVID supply chain issues, and also the Ukraine war. Well, it's clear now, even the Reserve Bank is now saying that this is a homegrown problem, and this is just kryptonite to the government. Once people start attributing to the government that their hip pocket problems are their fault, they're in big trouble. And the reality is, yes, they may have inherited some inflationary problems, but all the policy levers you can pull to try to reduce it, they've done the opposite. They've re-regulated the industrial relations market. Their climate change fanaticism is driving up energy costs, and the out of control and unplanned immigration is just causing incredible problems in the housing market and pressure for renters. The figures out today from the ABS are that over the next 5 years, we're going to get 1.8 million new migrants coming into Australia. That is the population of South Australia. And unless we build the infrastructure equivalent of South Australia in that time, which we're not doing, the result is we're going to have high inflation. And spending is key in that, and the government controls spending. Poor old Reserve Bank's got one lever, and I reckon they're going to keep using it, forced to keep using it. Let's go to comments from mining entrepreneur Gina Rinehart. She says the sector need to get their own workers and advocates into the parliament, get them in there so they can tear up the red tape and the green tape that's jeopardising the industry's ability to keep its current levels of production. I might add also that production that earns the revenues, that pays the taxes that underpin our bottom line. She's even called out the PM for all his overseas trips to promote trade, because she says, back here at home, mate, your local industry is drowning with regulation. Here she is.
The bureaucracy blocks us or hinders us at every opportunity. Projects succeed not because of government, but in spite of it. Isn't common sense refreshing? But that important ingredient, common sense, is missing in governments and most left media.
I mean, yes, she inherited her father's company, Patrick, but she's grown it into this massive enterprise beyond mining, agriculture and more. Government would be smart to listen, wouldn't they?
Well, Gina seems to have this sort of resonance with average people that belies her wealth. She seems to understand what they're talking about, and she not only sort of identifies the problems, she actually finds solutions as well, and she uses terms like common sense. And that really resonates when people don't hear that sort of plain talking from the government, certainly, and a lot of politicians in general. I think she's definitely onto something here. If she's saying there are problems with red tape, everybody sort of needs to listen, because everyone's going to take notice, aren't they? Because she is who she is.
And she's successful at it, and all politicians are successful.